Hello, I would like to invite you heartily with a meeting with Mr. Pastewka in the search for innovativeness, how to tell a story from the perspective of a baby. Give it a round of applause and good luck. So please come closer here because I will be showing a lot. But we have to come up with one more, the technology of turning off the lights. You will stay with us. That's great. So tell me, because I've been talking here with several people, is there anyone who didn't see the film yesterday? You've all been there, yes? You haven't. I wanted to know if I should show a certain fragments I will be talking about. Today I wanted to talk about, well, innovation is a very broad word. I'm a lecturer in the Warsaw Film School. The film The People that you saw yesterday was produced by the Warsaw Film School. It was directed by Maciej Ślesicki and Philip Hillesland. So there were two directors on this project. When I was lecturing in the film school for DOPs and directors, I always start in the first year. I'm writing what is good image or good shots, and who is a good DOP, what are the traits of a good DOP. After long discussions, we come to the conclusions that good shots are not necessarily nice shots, beautiful ones which are tasty, but in good video is where the video supports the story, that with the light and with the camera you can tell this story. I think it was said by George Lucas that no scene can be spoiled if you make a general plan and general shot and two counter shots, because then you know everything, you know who's sitting where, the people are dialoguing, but this scene, it's a bit mundane and it's a bit empty. Such shots are not typical shots. This is film realization, film performance. And on the black whiteboard, I'm underlining two things for the students. The first, that the image should have character. What I mean by character, we'll talk about, and that the DOP should be courageous. If we want to tell a story with the pictures, we have to take certain risk. We have to move away from this general shot and two counter shots, but come up with an idea to help with the story, to raise it to the next level. It is accompanied by some sort of a risk, because if we're doing something that is not standard, we can get it wrong, and somebody might not understand our concept. So this dialogue, I have to disconnect. There is a risk that at some point we might miss our audience and our concept will not fly. Why is it worth to take a risk, and why is it worth to take shots which have a character? By a character, I mean that they should not be generic. Right now, this relates to everything that happens in the movie. So I'm a DOP, so I focus on the image, but it relates also to drama, to script writing, staging, anything that happens in a movie. Why? Because, as you know, we live in a world where artificial intelligence conquers. Hello. Artificial intelligence conquers the artistic professions. When it was just a beginning, the artificial intelligence was in its cradle. I thought that these creative jobs are safe, that the DOP will always be needed, the director will always be needed, and the scriptwriter as well. Right now, A lot of my friends who are working in VFX and graphic designers, they're losing jobs because artificial intelligence can replace them. So these are just the beginnings. But the thing is, we have something to fear. Artificial intelligence works in such a way that it sums up and averages out what it has in its database. And quite soon, artificial intelligence will be able to write a script, generate images, stage a scene, etc., etc. However, when I'm following what's happening, these ideas of AI are very generic. So when I'm talking to the students that your images should have characters, I say should things which are not generic. And that's what I also heard from a Polish DOP, that the role of a cinematographer is not making a film, but filming. And that's the difference. You are to film. You have to, which means you have to use creativity in a conscious sense to come up with something that relates to the viewer, that you can establish a connection with the viewer, which will be bold and will help the story, will push the story forward. So that was, I would say, that was my introduction about the innovation. And this might sound like a lofty word. And when I was filming this movie, I realized that for me the biggest innovation is getting away from technology and going back to doing things in a more manual and analog way. I will show that to you in a sec. I will try to prove to you why it worked better for us. In this film, I want to focus on the shots from the point of view of a baby. You who haven't seen that movie, this movie tells a story of several women who are running away from the war. This is a story about civilians. It's not a war movie. It's not an action movie. It is a very intimate movie about civilians and the war and the relation with the war. So you do not have your typical soldiers, heroes who run somewhere and shoot and save people. But we observe people who are innocent, because they suffer the most in every war, especially those who generally have nothing to do with that war. And it's about them, this movie. So one of the episodes is shown from the point of view of a baby. A more innocent protagonist than an infant is something we couldn't come up with anything more innocent. The protagonist, female protagonist, because she's an infant, so she can't do anything. She can't run away. She can just scream and look around. So even this mobility of our protagonist is very limited. Wherever the wave of the war carries her, that's where she lands. I got the script to this movie 2 months after the start of the full-scale invasion of Russia on Ukraine. And this coincided with me having my first son, my first baby. And I opened this script, and on the first page I saw camera from the point of view of an infant. This is put in the script from the outset, and whenever there is the scene with the infant, the camera is from the point of view of the infant. This is a moment where the DOP can suddenly, prick up his ears, because this is something original. This is something you have to come up with. This is the innovation that I was talking about. When it comes to this camera from the point of view of a child, it's not some great innovation. There were plenty of movies where you had a camera from the point of view of a cow, of a dog, of a person, of a paralyzed person. We have movies like that, so this is not something new. However, when we were doing tests for that movie, it occurred that this is not as easy as you would think. When we are making a point of view shots, you need to have the viewer to believe this. The viewer would have to believe that this is somebody who observes the world in such a way. And the audience have to somehow feel with this sort of a person. So the problem was, of course, technical on one side, but also conceptual. So how to show a camera in such a way that we do not feel that this is a camera, but we could feel that this is a real person. So that we could really feel for our protagonist. So now, what's interesting when it comes to that movie is that for the first time in my life, I had an opportunity to make such a good pre-production with this project, because even though it was done in a pretty fast way, due to many difficult effects, we decided that there's no possibility to enter the set without knowing how these effects are supposed to be made by us, done by us. So this film had about 33 shooting days, but the test, just the camera tests, we did 43 days. This is totally and things like that don't happen, so that you have more tests than shooting days. And this occurred to be necessary in case of this movie. And because this movie was produced by the film school, in production of this movie, in the very beginning, during the filming, we had students. We had about 100. In no other production it would be possible, because doing 43 camera testing, it would be a huge money, but we had scared students at our disposal. Here everybody was, it was a win-win situation. We were victorious because we could test a lot of things, and the students all had, they had their internship, and which was accepted, and the students which held with me until the very end, these were the three students, a group of three students who stayed with me until the end. They are working right now in film set. I made also a Netflix movie with them, so they're professional camera assistants and focus pullers, so they're already in the business, so to speak. So this is, of course, a joke, of course. I don't know what sort of an idea of this installation is, but generally this picture of a guy with a camera attached to his face is a sort of was my inspiration, that I would like to achieve something like this. I would like to achieve the effect when the camera would really look like as if it was attached to the child's face. So on the left hand side is my first test, where I tried to, when I wanted to find out how does it work. So for those of you who didn't see the movie, I just wanted to show you a fragment, maybe with Polish subtitles. I can see we do have a problem with the sound. The dialogues, we don't see the channel with the dialogues. It's not a big problem. I wanted to show you a fragment of a scene. Okay, let's stop here. This is a long scene, so I will not torment you with this. So I will try to show you now the process of building that scene. It occurred that in the story of this, in the history of this script, in the story of the script, the baby is either in a cradle or is within the arms of a protagonist, and then she's put back into the cradle, into the trolley. So the baby in this trolley is going across half of the town. So at the end, it falls into the water. So right now, it was not possible to come up with a technology that would sort of could deal with all these elements. So I had to force to somehow divide how we film these things. So I was sure that we can be filming this scene with I will be filming in a different way when the baby is in the arms, in the trolley, or in the water, which was obvious, because here all the underwater pictures are very complicated. Long story short, we divided that into 3 technologies. Let's start with the camera when the baby was in the arms. Let's mute that. I will be doing the narrative here. So this is the first test that I performed. Maybe I should. Could you turn on the light on like this? It's not that important. I wanted to see you so that you can see me too. This is the first test. When I read first the camera from the point of view of a baby, there you have to have a wide angle, wide lens. Somebody will be holding that in their hand and suggest that this is a baby. So we'll be passing this on from hand to hand. For some reason, it looks very mechanical. And when I looked at this, I feel I do not have this effect that I wanted to achieve. I do not feel that I'm observing a living person. That it is very mechanical. You can feel the camera. The second test we performed was on a much narrower lens, and when I was observing my son, I was interested that the baby doesn't look where we would want it to look. So it was also a style of narration that this baby is rather sort of interested in something on the ceiling and followed some sort of a sound. Not as if the cameraman were moving the camera. In a narrower shot, it all looked much more interestingly, because there is a sort of a mystery taking place there. At some stage of this movie, of making this movie, we decided to make it a 4:3 format. It was a decision that was suggested by Philip Hiestand, one of the directors. It was a decision that focused on that this is not an epic cinema. This is about emotions, it's about people, and we want to be close to those people. We want them to fill in the screen. As you can see, you have some protagonists here within the frame, and she's the main topic of this shot. So we cut away the sides because they're not interesting for us. We're interested in the face and the emotions of this protagonist. In this aspect, I feel it works better than if we did it in 16:9. That was a decision for the whole movie, because the whole movie is in the academic format, so 4:3 crop. That was the aspect of the whole movie. This gives us one more thing very important for a filmmaker, about which we should not think because we're artists, but in practice we do not have the comfort not to think about it. And here I'm talking about the production. The less you see, the less it costs. So this is also a very important thing, and we knew that we are making a movie. You could say that this movie is as if we made a historical cinema, because we're shooting in Poland, but we're moving a movie about a different country. So it's a movie which has elements of a war movie. So these are all things which cost money: tanks, shooting, explosions, special effects. We decided that the less you have that in the shot, the cheaper it would be for us and easier to prepare. However, that decision was still a result of one more thing. How to explain that to you? There is a movie which is called Clockers. I don't know if you know this. If you're a cinema lover, it's a horror. It's famous because of one scene where one guy's head explodes. There is a close-up at a man, and then his head explodes. Of course, this is horrible. But now if we try to come up to this, to approach this as a filmmaker, if you wanted to record an exploding head, we would need to make the cast of that head. In order to have this cast, we would need to have pyrotechnicians who will blow this head up. But what will happen if they will blow it up? These are silicon these are silicon casts, so only the silicon will fly. So which means we do not need to have a cast. We need to have some sort of a jelly to be put inside. And now you have to how to make it look realistic. Just the wigs in a cinema on a film are very expensive. A cast of a head, these are costs of several thousand zlotys, and one shot would probably be not be enough. So suddenly, if we wanted to blow up somebody's head in the shot, we're looking at a cost of such shot between 50 and 100,000 zlotys. So suddenly, in order to make it in a credible way, because obviously you would be able to do it for a comedy, you would not need that to make it that credible. But even if we make a very convincing cast with very good special effects, we would need to resort to CGI, which is not also for free. So at the end of the day, we do not know if this effect will be so horrible. This is a horror, so the goal is to scare the viewer. I don't know if our head would scare the viewer, but it's much cheaper, much simpler, and I think in a more effective way. Instead of shooting an exploding head, you can shoot a person who looks at this and record his reaction and throw jelly at him. Now, what happens? Every viewer will imagine that exploding head. Everybody will imagine this in the way that's more horrible for them. As we're different and everybody is afraid of different things, it is even more effective because we will imagine what is most scary in the exploding head. Following that train of thought, this is how we did it in this movie. Plenty of people say that this is a movie which is brutal and scary. Here, if you think about it and analyze this, you don't see much brutality in the shot. It takes place outside of the screen. It takes place in the sound a lot. The sound for this movie is made by Maciek Milkiewicz at a world level. This production that we had yesterday, it is in stereo. It was so you didn't have this feeling as you have in the cinema, where this sound is really a real surround. It was also this aspect was also decided upon because it was supposed to be cheaper and more effective. So now this is an exercise that I do with the students to see how the staging of that scene would look like. I'm talking about this leaving the cellar. And here we came to a conclusion that this film, even if we did this child's point of view as good as possible, there would not be a possibility to have this baby outside of the shot. So how can we have it in the shot if we were looking at the world through its eyes? So we came up with a mirror, a very effective method. So before we got on the set, I had this ambitious idea that this mirror should be shot in a totally non-innovative way, but as people used to do it, as they did it in the movies before. So this is a body double of this woman, and this lady with the baby is the double of our protagonist, who holds the camera at this moment. So we were supposed to get to have this impression that this is a mirror, but of course this is a wall with a hole in it. Interesting, but very difficult to perform because of you have to make a synchro between the actors. So it was never perfect, no matter how many takes we've taken. that the movements do not work well. The hair do not work the same way, because these are only our attempts. So this is very difficult. So this was difficult. So we found out that this might break our whole scene. So because of that effect, we would need to repeat that scene a number of times. And the worst thing is that in order to do that, you have to build 2 rooms. So probably you're looking here at very high costs to do something like that in a studio, which still you have to get from under the floor. So in order to have the continuity of the shot and the continuity of the actions that would allow the immersion of the audience into the story, and not to give this breather, as we spoke here in the corridor about this, it would be very difficult to find a location that has a cellar and a house. And so here there's a whole number of hidden cuts in this sequence. The one of the moment is when they're getting out of the cellar. Of course, there is a cut to because the cellar is a totally different location than the apartment. So another test showed us. Hi, you can join us. Showed us some allowed us to come up with new ideas. And now I'm getting to a big game changer for myself in this whole technology, where I realized that the camera itself, which was led by the cameraman from hand, does not give me the human view. Suddenly, it becomes mechanical. So we started to test this on gimbal. The gimbal itself has this characteristic that it catches, so that it sort of amortizes certain micro movements and makes everything more smooth. I have this piece of equipment here, which is connected to the gimbal, whereby so I can, for example, here I can steer this camera remotely. So I can give the camera to the actor, and I'm not losing the control over what I want to show. I have my assistants here who are holding the camera, and by moving this around, I'm steering this camera. This technology, it is devised for drones, which are on the crane, and the camera is hanging somewhere very high, and the camera on the crane is moving around. But for all, and this is the effect. So yeah, let me rewind that so that they hold it in their hand. In this movement, unfortunately, this is pretty. It doesn't work very well with the use of this gimbal. We got a certain latency in the movement of this baby, and also where the operator is looking, the cameraman is looking, the camera will move there. So we simulate a bit the point of view of a real human. So I wanted to show you now a fragment of a movie. Is this a baby that we see in the movie? It's a real baby? Yes, at the end of the day we made this effect with the mirror on the green screen. We had the green screen in the mirror, we recorded the whole scene with the camera, and finally we took a baby and we showed it in the green screen. There was no stage there on the set. No baby would hold on for 8-minute shot that would destroy the movie. This is the film that you probably know. It's pretty well known. It was the shots are by Mateusz Kamiński, and it's the point of view of a paralyzed so this, as you can see, there's as you can see, this image is a bit blurred, so it's not so sharp. Also, this blinking is something that adds makes it less technical. So it's the movie Le Scaphandre et le Papillon. So when we have this technology, how this should move, I was wondering how the world should see it. You have to need a lens that's doing things like this. We found a lens, and somebody came after somebody asked me, "This is a lens baby lens?" Yes, it. As you can see, this is. To tell you one more thing. The tests that I'm showing you very quickly in the beginning of making that movie, I decided about the equipment that I will be using to do that. Here we are in Film Spring Open, where you have access to the best cameras available on the market. And I also thought that this movie will be made on some super camera, because I really wanted to do it well. I made a lot of tests, and of course the super cameras proved that they are super. However, they are also expensive, and as I mentioned, this movie is not a high budget production. We really wanted to focus on what this movie is about, and not on making this on some wondrous technology. So we decided to use Red Komodo. It's a very small camera. It's a camera that, in comparison to professional film cameras, which can cost, I don't know, the prices start from 200,000 zlotys, and the Red Komodo costs about 30,000 zlotys. It's 10 times cheaper than professional cameras that you can find in the market. It's pretty small. Of course, we would never put such a big camera on a gimbal, but this decision was also made because it was a school equipment, and we had 4 of such cameras. So if I have a choice to make a movie on some exceptional equipment, but I will get it only for the shooting, that means I know nothing about it, and I have nothing prepared. When I knew I have so many days for testing, I think I need to speed up, because we started at what time? We started at 2? Yes, but I know this is being recorded. I know these baby lenses, and I know you have to move them around by hand. So you could maneuver that if it was on a gimbal. So somebody had to do that. Yes. As with every other lens, we put a remote focus pull, and the focus puller could operate the focus remotely. But these are like small, very fragile lenses. That's why they can move, they can sort of shake, and so they were right, because we had to modify this lens in many places, and my my students used like special rings that they printed on a 3D printer that we put on them. So it was a bit of a whittling and tinkering so that we could have any sort of control. As you said, these lenses are very special in every way. So when we had the technology, when we had the lens, I decided, okay, job's done, mission accomplished. I have everything. I was very wrong, because after, I don't know which day it was, the director came to see, one of the directors came to see, this is Mateusz Pastewka, and he said that he wants to take it into his hand. He took this equipment into his hand, and at this point it all stopped working. And not because we broke something, but I didn't take into account one thing. I planned everything as I would be able to control it, and Mateusz Pastewka quite rightly treated this equipment as it would be treated by every actor who doesn't know how to work with it, how to hold the gimbal, does it for the first time. And it occurred that for an untrained human, it's totally an impossible piece of equipment to hold and carry around. It gets in your way, and everything is wrong. So again, we had to change this technology again a bit. On the gimbal, we marked the zones where it can be held or where it shouldn't be held, or grabbed. There was no other option that we had to have one more operator who will be supporting the actor with carrying this equipment around, just to take out this mental blockade that you will drop it at some point because it has its weight. I will show you what it looks like from the outside. So that's this sort of equipment. When we try to carry it around, this is what it looks like. I'm so happy that I'm in all those tests, because I also wanted to prove to you if you want to do something difficult, you can't outsource it. You have to test everything yourself and plan everything yourself. So, at the moment where we already had the planned technology and we knew how we'll give it to the actors, to their hands, the time came for the tests on location, and we also tested this movement very minutely, how it should be step by step, how we should move, what is seen, what is unseen. When showing that to you, I wanted to point your attention to how important it is if you want to create chaos on the screen, how important it is to put everything in order. So we're not creating this chaos because there's a chaos on the set, but in order to have chaos, you have to have perfect order. We have to understand and know if we did something for much bigger money, because here every effect costs money. So in a moment we'll get to this shot, which will be this sort of pursuit, or rather fleeing through the city. So everybody on the set, who was working with us on the set is in the shot, because we couldn't pay for effects, which then will not be translated into the screen. This is a controlled chaos. And only at the moment when we prove to ourselves how this should be done, only then we could give this camera for tests to the actors. So let's now move to the second technology, the technology of riding. I'll show you this part with the where they were fleeing across the city. Can I ask you to turn on the light? Oh, here we have the first cut in the sequence, which is on the and starting we have the second shot from the barrel of the tank gun. This is another shot in a different place. Yeah, there is some problem with the sound. One of the channels doesn't work, doesn't go through this TV. We should hear the crying of the baby, but you saw that in the cinema. So I'm showing that to the person who haven't seen this. Here is again, we have a, let's say, hidden cut, which is again against the sky because we had to cut somewhere. And this is the third location. And here here you had a normal cut already seen. This is our Potiomkin's staircase. And this is the moment from the wheel falling down was a camera that is already prepared for a underwater shot, because it was supposed to fall into the water in one shot and then float. I will show that to you in a sec. Can you turn on the light, please? Let me start with this camera, which is in the trolley. That was the second technology, so everything started from the very start. This is what you have seen here on the first shot, GoPro connected to the trolley. Again, not the right. It looks as if it's a shot from a typical action cam like a skateboarding sort of a shot, not this kind of story. Here is our handheld camera, and in order to achieve that, this fragment of the trolley, this handle is connected to a standard grip trolley, which is pulled by somebody else. So this is not a technology that we have this camera on a gimbal, but I would say innovation in the form of going back to normal filming methods, where it occurs that a human holding a camera in his hand will make the best job, will do the best job. Then when the baby was put in the trolley, you can see that the style of work will work for that, because nobody will be pulling that baby out. Here we tried this on gimbal didn't work here, because what gimbal did, this baby was sort of floating in this it's too stable for the chaos that is supposed to take place and gimbal is only to, so we decided the gimbal will be only carried. And here we decided that we'll make a test that I also glimpsed with the Les Scaphandres et les Papillons. We tried to do that with different lenses. Here you have the blinking. Does it blink in the film? No, it doesn't. I'm leaving that to you, what is more credible, whether blinking or not. But I was thinking that this blinking has a lot of sense. However, first of all, it allows us to change the lens. So one scene can be wider, one can be closer. Of course, it's not how we look at the world, but in a way, the viewer interprets that this baby is focusing on something at a given point. What follows that, we're losing what we wanted to achieve. It's this continuity of the shot that it gives us a moment to rest. If there's no blinking, there's no rest. And watching this is much more difficult, and we wanted to make it to shake the viewer a bit and to wake them up, and so we decided not to do the blinking, even though we thought. Here we also tested, in the previous test, we made an artificial baby lens on a standard lens. A baby lens was great when it was on gimbal, but during this flight through the city, this scene it non-intuitively has a number of CGI because the people who are falling from the bridge, the stuntmen are suspended on the rope. A part of the bridge is destroyed. This is also added in post-production. It's much more difficult for the CGI specialists if the image is blurred. So it was easier for them to. The baby lens effect we put in a CGI on a standard lens. So here I made my students to do the staging so we could try things. And finally, in the location, we had to plan what this camera will be seeing. So Maciej Lesicki, the director, Filip Hilesland, the co-director, they were running I'm running in the background, so it was a movie where everybody was running around. It was not a movie where we were sitting on the chairs in the tent and telling others what should happen there. We had to roll our sleeves up and come up with this. This is a Siekierki Bridge in Warsaw. This is under the Siekierki Bridge in Warsaw. What I will tell you about this bridge and about this first location, it is written that it's flight across the town. So yes, fine, but in the script you can write that. But when you are starting to film that, that in this there's nothing in the city. There's nothing up there. You have a piece of electric cable, one bigger building, but the thing is that when it takes place under the bridge, it gives you a certain texture that is sort of flashing there, and it's changing. It gives you a certain feeling of dynamics. That's why we decided to move it under the bridge. That's why we also, there was an idea of this first location, because there was some sort of chimneys and poles, etc. But it works not that much worse than what's happening under the bridge. Yeah, and then you notice that there is this camel walking along the bridge. So now I will show to you a few shots from the set. These are all the ropes. This is not a stuntsman, but a dummy suspended on the rope. This is a tank. So this is how you make a low-budget tank. Just the barrel of the gun is on the filming platform. You push it into the frame, into the shot. There is a charge which exploded inside. Then it's, of course, it's a bit pimped up in post-production, and this is what you see a stuntman there. The stuntman is really because when a human is falling down, he's waving his limbs around, which the dummy would not do. And this is what it looked like, our technology. So if we have a normal platform, filming platform, which you can pull by the metal, but I mean, there's also a motive that this trolley is turning, so you had to come up with how to, that you could both push it and pull it. So that's why you have two handles. There is a cameraman sitting there, and we have two soldiers there. There were two soldiers. And of course, the whole filming set to move together with the trolley. This is what it looked like. And this is our second director, who had to dress up because we needed a third soldier and there was nobody else. And finally, and he dies there. I was always afraid what will be on the outside of the frame. So there were two grips. It was installed in such a way that they could easily grasp this handle and push this all. And this is how they did that. But the trolley with the cameraman and the camera is like 150 kilograms. So one girl would not be able to do all the takes. And now I will show you the third technology, which we had to develop. The sequence seems short, but you have to come up with 3 different technologies how to record it. This is recorded on GoPro. The only good thing that we got from this test, the only thing that was good from this test is that this baby we never showed the legs of that baby. When this trolley is falling down, a hand or a leg adds some credibility. So we decided that we'll have a baby, some sort of a doll put in the trolley. So this is a metal pipe that cost us 300 zlotys. So if you would like to, well, we had to sort of weld it ourselves, and we had to install a cage for the holders for the camera. So if you would want to make such a shot that you put the camera under the water, such a shot in Poland is 15,000 zloty, because you have to have a special team who will do that. We didn't have such a budget. It was also, it was not very complicated, because the camera would have to fall into the water and just splash around for a while. But we had to, for our small camera, we had to build a pipe with the glass. And of course, at the moment when you put the camera under the water, you get millions of problems, because everything stops working. So first of all, if you put a camera in a sealed container, it heats up. There's no ventilation. It can overheat, which means it can turn off. When we put it in the we get a Faraday's, also if it's a metal container, everything that is remote and wireless, for like focus pull, etc., or video signal, because it's a Faraday's cage, stops working. We got a whole number of number of problems which we had to solve. This is the camera with connection of GoPro, and we tested this and tested this. As you can see, this is all done on a very makeshift basis. All the tests, we had like failure after failure after failure, and finally we managed to make a test which gave us hope, and this is what it looked like. We saw that and said, okay, I think we're close. We tried to do the same in location. Without falling into the water yet. And finally, the shot looks like this. If in this shot there was only a trolley going down the stairs, it would not be so strong. This is the moment where the director comes. There has to be a soldier, and he should die. And all our attempts allowed us only to record this. And this one sentence from the director, who added a stuntsman, really brings that to another level. That somebody tried to save that child and paid for that the ultimate price. The additional effect are like toys and milk bottles which are falling out. So this is all where it's there. We spend a lot of time over this. This is what it looked like at the end of the day. These stairs were not there. We filmed that next to the this is not this is a leg of the Vistula River. It looks like a ladder. Yes, the rungs connected to that ramp, and we also had this. We came up with it so that this jump could suggest stairs. And after everything was supposed to take place in the water, we had our famous pipe. We could take it out of the water and we could splash it as much as we wanted. We had two boats, pontoons rather. Yes, it was sealed. In once every 45 minutes we had to get out, which irritated everybody. During the filming, it started to the container started to leak. Well, an absolute disaster, of course. There was a plexiglass, but we were prepared for that. Thankfully, that the plex really gets lots of scratches. So whatever if you touch it, whatever you do, you get scratches, and it doesn't look good anymore. But we were prepared well enough. I mean, we had two such pipes. We had a lot of plexi shields there, and we had a technology that we would replace one with the other. My students who took part in this activity, especially this one guy, the shaggy guy here, Janek Szlagowski, he took our famous pipe and he made out of it something incredible, because he's doing underwater filming. From out of this simple pipe, he built a system that has a preview, it has cables, it has power supply. I think he has the third version of it with the real glass screwed on, replaceable, and he does underwater filming. Out of such a city, a student who was there as an intern found a way. He found his niche in which he works. His system is called Varan. This came from the fact that our camera is red Komodo, so Varan of Komodo. So you put Komodo inside of a Varan. So this is what I wanted to show you here when it comes to this technology. I think we still have half an hour to go. 3:30, anybody knows? Oh, until 3, which means we don't have any more time. So maybe any questions, I will be glad to answer them. I can show you something else if you are interested in anything. You mentioned that this pipe was supposed to block the signal. How did you manage that so that it worked? It occurred that the signal, the focus signal, is not blocked when this pipe does not fall into the water. It fell into the water just at the end of the shot, so we put the possibility of pulling the focus. We also could preview this, and I mean we were losing the image too, but we also recorded this. We took out, we connected to the cable, and we watched how the material, whether it's well recorded or not. So we had a number of problems there. But it was a different shot already. It was not a master shot, 4-minute master shot. It was 115-second sequence of falling into the water. And I think we've managed to launch this camera when we didn't have the signal. This focus puller didn't know if he has the possibility to focus. He was pulling the focus by intuition. The point of view of a baby also gave us a certain degrees of freedom. if we had too much focus, would not work here. So a bit of lack of precision was fine here. Also, when the camera was being put into the water, we started to have the problem with the signal, but it was enough to not to dip all the pipe into the water. It's just so that it was enough to put the glass under the water. So today the guys who are doing this professionally, they have no problem with that because they have cables through the outlet and everything is sealed. And yeah, and as you can see here, as on the picture, our cameraman was hanging out of the boat, and I like really chapeau bas. Fantastic work. I, as a DOP, I don't know that, but I do believe that the budget was it was half of a standard feature film budget in Poland. It is assumed that a feature movie in Poland, I'm not talking about any super production or a historical movie, nor about the genre movie, costs about 4 million zlotys. We had less than half. When we're doing historical cinema, they would need to have much more money, but it was a low budget. It was produced by the school in co-production with Heliograph. Heliograph helped us a lot, especially from the point of view of lighting. We had a great help from our students, and many people got engaged in that movie. We knew that we were doing a movie, we were making a movie. We knew from the outset that this is not a movie which will earn money. We knew that we cannot do it with people who will do it only for the money, but we decided to get a crew of people who would have the sense of mission, because we felt at that time the need to make such a movie, because we did not agree with what was happening in Ukraine. We didn't agree with the attack of Russia, and we were enraged. And we needed to make a movie that we thought that it will be the outlet of our emotions. And secondly, we knew that when this movie will be in the cinema, it will premiere in February next year. We knew that these positive emotions and this sense of this need to help will fade away. People would get used to the war. We are just humans, so we can get adapted to every horror. So we knew that this war will become normal for us, and people will start to forget. And we decided that you have to make a movie that will be a wake-up call to make us remember. No, there is very few CGI effects in this film. The explosions under the bridge. So this building is a building is a desolate building in Gliwice, somewhere around Katowice. So it is shown here. We have a shot of a soldier. He launches himself on this girl. The camera gets up, and there's a fragment of the wall cut out, and everything that is on the other side of the wall. It's a compositing effect where we just add. This is added in CGI. How the whole scene is uncut. This explosion inside is a true effect, and there is a situation. Maybe I'll show it to you how it was made, because I do have this fragment here. We really wanted this to be done in one shot. So when they were falling down, the set design team come in. It pulls in a rug with debris, and then demolition starts. So this explosion in the middle is real. We were shooting zoo in Borysev. In this is a private zoo outside of Łódź. If you want to see a white lion or white tiger, they have such animals there. Interesting place. So we have the elephant is added in CGI, and a few animals in the background. The animals which are close, well, it's a mix of mock-ups. So artificially made animals. But look at that, the zoo has a number of frozen antelopes. So we ask them to rent them out. It seems that when an animal dies in the zoo, I was wondering about this, but when an animal dies in the zoo, it has to be frozen until some expert could come and state why it died. So they do it so that to monitor whether that they didn't give a wrong food to a giraffe or whatever. I didn't know about that. So you learn such things as you work. We were talking about that here in the corridor with you, I think. This film is inspired by the real life events, which should not be very strange to us, because if we were making such a movie together, totally out of fantasy, somebody could state that it's not credible, that we're doing some propaganda, that we're lying. So the majority of the stories that are here are the stories which are inspired by some real events. So like the guy with whom they found some fishing trousers and they shot him, and this is from a newspaper. Mobile burners like crematoria. You can Google that out. You have plenty of such stories. But the motive of a protagonist who gets to such a camp, it is our fiction, but the fact of mobile crematories, this is true, unfortunately. Thank you.